title of this podcast will be, I'll find out the exact amount of money that I spent. But as you know, I've got quite a large collection of sealed models. You do know that. I'm pretty sure you do.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. And this was one of the absolute best finds I've ever had in my collecting career, is probably the way to say it, or I don't know. So the last, I moved to Austria in 2013, and that was when I got back into Warhammer after stopping when I was 14. So I don't know how long ago that was, but so I guess I was like, fucking hell, 7 years. Jesus. Anyway, so I was 28 when I got back into it, but I started off really slow, right? I was just like buying a little bit box here, buying a bit box here, but I was in Austria and I was getting it all shipped to the UK because most of the purchases were in the UK. So I had it shipped to my sister. Anyway, the reason why I'm telling you this is I didn't have much money back then. But when I moved back, because I was in Austria 2.5 years, everything was in the loft, and I realised all of a sudden I'd ordered a lot of stuff over those 2.5 years, like all cheap and stuff. But that's basically where the plastic crack sealed addiction came in. That was when it started. Like this, that was the seed of buying.
Well, just to put some perspective onto it as well. Obviously, I do know how much stuff you've got, and I know a lot of people say, particularly when it comes to Warhammer and collecting, "Oh, I've got lots of stuff. I've got, and there are collectors." But I don't think, unless you're going to put anything in post, I don't think people can understand how much stuff Jamie's got. Just to put it in some kind of context, when I saw the photos, I thought you were a trader that had gone out of business. And I remember saying this to you because.
I do actually, yeah.
Yeah, you had multiple copies of army boxes, so like 4 or 5 copies of a Blood Angel army, or I think you turned around and said, "Oh, I've got 10 boxes of Primaris Marines."
Yeah.
And I don't even collect Primaris, and I just at that point I assumed, because you had that much stock, a room full of it, I just assumed you were a trader that had decided to stop trading, and that was all the excess stock you had left.
I mean, it's a valid, sensible conclusion. All the Primaris and all the modern stuff that I got was probably the tail end of realizing there was certainly some unhealthy addiction there. But this is where it all started, and this is still. So I'm going to bring up photos of where I found the best place to buy them from. So yeah, it basically somehow it evolved into only wanting sealed and only wanting OOP sealed, and that's really it's like 3rd edition, 2nd edition 40k, or 5th edition and 4th edition fantasy, and then obviously basically anything old sealed was what I was going for. But my actual the end game, which I don't know, I never really talk about when it's on social media because it's just boring. But the end game was the dream was to have a shop, or a room that looked like a shop from the 19s, right?
I think you achieved that from the photos that I saw.
Well, it's all just in my damn loft. So I did manage to buy, but it wasn't old, but like the painting, what the hell are those things called? Where all the paintbrushes go and all the paints are on.
The retail stand.
Painting rack. Yeah, exactly. And the shelves. Because what I wanted, it was a shop, it was closing down. What I still kind of want it, but now I'm a little bit more realistic about the dream. I wanted just like a wall that was exactly like going into Games Workshop in 99. You had the Battle Force at the top. You have all and multiple copies of each box and each blister.
But why?
I don't know. Why is a pace? What?
Because one assumes
what happened, didn't it?
One assumes you weren't going to open any of these boxes.
Well,
you would have 5 copies of every 2nd edition army, sitting there doing nothing.
I mean, this causes a lot of debate in the. I got banned multiple times from the Old Hammer group by the admin Chris, someone, because I don't want to name names, because I shared sealed boxes. So it's sealed. It divides a lot of people because people don't understand why anybody would want to leave a box sealed, because the models were designed to play with, right? And my position on it is just, you can get everything unopened. You can get all the models unpainted easily, right? Like, you can go on eBay and you can find a Bloodthirster from '99, the metal version. So why would I open a sealed box when I could just buy, the model there? I'd even rather sell the sealed box for double the amount of the open one and then just buy the open one on eBay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I have opened sealed boxes to paint them, but when I realised I can just buy them, I was like, that's just a stupid waste of money and history, Lionel. Because some of these boxes that I have sealed, there are obviously more than one, but it's anyway. This episode, go on.
No, I was about to say I do understand where you're coming from, because obviously I was a comic book collector, and I used to buy 2 copies of every comic, one to seal straight away, and one to read. So I do understand that.
It's good times. Yeah.
But I don't understand having 5 copies of one box. That's where you.
Well, this was opportunity that presented itself, and who was I to turn down the holy grail of collections, in my opinion? So what the hell was the point? So this now has opened up. It will be a very slow series because I won't push this that hard because I'm essentially lazy. But we will cover different types of sealed things that I have, because there's a lot of things that I want to just show the world how beautiful a sealed army box is.
Let's hope your wife doesn't watch this series, because then she
knows the truth now. No,
does she know the truth?
Well, she knows the truth, yeah, because of
your version of the truth.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you can't hide that much money. That's the problem. So today, because we've talked now for 10 minutes and no one knows what the hell I'm about to. Well, actually, the title should give it all away. Anyway, so in 2016, which is now I realise is 4 years ago. So I've been collecting, and then 2015 I started upping it. In 14, 15, and then 16, I was like, right, I'm putting a lot of money into seal boxes now, and I'm trying to sort. The thing is, the beautiful thing is, eBay people hadn't realised the joy or value in sealed boxes. So I was hitting it pretty hard for quite a long time, and then this came along, and I basically shat myself. And it was actually on Facebook. Someone was like, "Holy crap, guys, have you seen this?" And I'll show you what I saw, and I don't know if it will ignite your nostalgia testicles the same way it did mine, but I think it will.
I think we have very different tastes, so yeah,
possibly. Well, you were playing here anyway. Yeah, I would have done a lot to get my hands on this collection, which I did partly, not as much as I wanted. So here it is. This article opened up, okay, and it's that. I mean, that was it. That was all I needed.
That's my childhood there.
Yeah, right. That thumbnail coming up, being like, can I zoom in? I mean, I've got full versions of these anyway.
Right. Okay.
But like, do you know what I mean? Say no more. I was like, let me see. Yeah, there you
go. So what's this? Just put it in context.
So
is this an old stockist selling all of his stuff?
Basically, yeah. So I came to this point, and obviously I don't really know what's going on, but I scrolled through, and I was like, oh my god. Basically, if this guy in Indonesia called Daniel, I think he worked with someone, and he's into the hobby quite. He's like a really nice guy. I've spoken to him. Well, I didn't realise now, but for 4 years. Yeah, I think he worked with a guy, and the guy was like, I used to stock Games Workshop. I've still got the stock from whenever it was, 98, and I've not touched it since 98. So, I mean, this image alone, let me scroll through, and then I'll open up the bigger versions.
Yeah.
Because for me, I literally looked at this article probably for about an hour, just crapping myself. And then there was the email at the bottom, and I was like... So I immediately emailed him and was like, Daniel, send me the price list right now. I'll buy it all.
Or
I said I'll buy it all. I wanted it all. I absolutely would have bought it all.
because this is my point. Just without you even enlarging it, I can see multiple copies of the same thing.
I would have. I genuinely, especially with what happened after all this, with the whole gambling. Like, I wish I had have just bought it all. You know.
Oh, so you didn't buy it all then?
I did not. I spent around $4,000 was the total that I spent. And frustratingly, import tax and shipping. The shipping alone was £900.
I can imagine.
So it was basically 6 boxes. Anyway, right. So this is. I think I even left a comment and was too disappointed that he hadn't replied. Okay, that's the delivery. Right. So these are the images up close. Yeah.
Okay.
And I know you like them. You can't not like this. Seeing this.
Yeah. See, this is the era that I was doing it. So yeah, all this looks very familiar.
And so there were 2 parts though, right? So the first part of me, the collector in me, just absolutely just wanted these to have them. But also I knew in the back of my mind, all of these sell for a lot of money. Like it wasn't an investment.
So you're already aware then that it was a potential gold mine.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But I absolutely didn't buy this to sell it because I would love this collection and this many boxes on my wall. Like nothing. That's not true. Very few things could bring me as much happiness as having these sealed boxes in my home could bring me. I'd sleep with them in my room, I think, if I could. And then obviously here, which is the more 98 stuff.
Yeah.
Sweet Lord, baby Jesus. I mean, the Necromunda. I bought those 3. You can't get those sealed. Like all of this stuff. Do you know what? All of these paint sets had been sold by the time I got there. They were like gold. Finding a sealed. It took me another 4 years to find a sealed color thing.
Oh, so you still kept looking for it? Well,
yeah. I mean, once you get a taste, Lionel, it's...
look at all those jet bikes. Look at all the Eldar stuff for you.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I've got easily that much an Eldar already. So Eldar wasn't something that I was really... anyway.
Space.
And then more painted things. So if anybody's interested as well, he's no longer selling, just in case people... want to basically I'm going to show you the price list as well, just to really get the hobbyist juices flowing. I mean, it still gets me excited.
So for that $4,000 then, what did you get?
Yeah, we'll go through that. I'm going to show you the photos of what I got. But I still right now, like looking at these photos in a weird way gives me like nostalgia for the nostalgia, which is really bloody weird.
Yeah, because I remember that edition of 40k coming out, and I think that's where my love affair with Blood Angels started.
Which is the second edition.
I was about to say, was that the first box game they did after Rogue Trader?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and what a box it was.
It was at the time.
And
it was very good.
That artwork is how on earth could I forget? He did the Sister of Battle, John Blanche. There you go.
John Blanche.
But I found out that this is extremely saturated on the box art from the original, which I find quite interesting.
I was about to say, because his stuff was always quite bleak, wasn't it? Whereas that's quite colourful.
Yeah, but what I found hilarious is obviously I've got the second edition Elder there, and it's extremely vibrant. Like it's more vibrant on the original artwork than it is on the printed version. And yet with this versions, they had to do the opposite, which is still quite interesting. Right, so I'll briefly go over the price list. So this is the price list. Now, so people assumed it was cheap, but it's not. It's like £6 for one blister for a Sister of Battle. That isn't cheap, in my opinion. So I bought them all.
I don't know.
Obviously.
I don't know. It's akin to the same prices as if you went back to 1990 and paid for it.
Yeah, it is, but it's not as cheap as when you buy from other people. Like buying some Elder sealed in a blister now, bearing in mind so say 5 years ago, bearing in mind the models were still the models that were being released. I don't know. It just the prices weren't relevant, but I had a lot of problems with the prices. Like an Immortalator, which is the Sister About a Tank, was 27 quid, which is which is okay. I think I bought like 6 or 7 of those. They were the models I loved the most. But
how much were the 40k box sets and the Space Hulks?
Really cheap. Really 72 quid. I think it was. Yeah, 76 quid. Now the reason why I couldn't buy these, I regret actually not buying them. I didn't buy any of these second edition boxes, was because each box was around 2 or 3 kilos. And in shipping alone, it added on like 30 quid a box.
Talking about £100.
Yeah, which they would sell for a lot more now. I know a guy who bought one for 400 quid sealed. So it's anyway. But as I said, I wasn't really in it for the selling. I was in it to have the best collection any man could. So there was the Viper. The Elder Viper was like 15 quid or 20 quid. And I was like, it just basically the way these prices were calculated were through eBay. So he basically just went to eBay, went to the highest, sold, and then did that way.
The epic stuff's quite cheap considering how much it would fetch
nowadays. Yeah, for sure. And then these are the special games. So so I bought 4 Gorkum Walkers.
Oh, did you? Right, okay.
I mean, how could I not? But the fact that he had 20 of these.
You're joking.
So this is why I couldn't afford it. I calculated it. It was 29 grand for everything, basically.
Were they as well? Because obviously he was in. Where did you say this guy was located?
Indonesia.
Was the contents and rules all
in English?
Oh, they're English, were they? Okay.
So you can see some stuff had been sold before I got there.
Yeah.
And I think he'd removed a couple of the things before I got there. But also, when I got this list, he said there's someone else. I'm waiting for someone else to return. So all this stuff wasn't necessarily available, but I spent a very long time working out which ones I could find on eBay for just the same price. Or cheaper. So like this Forest Dragon, it was a little bit more expensive than eBay at the time. Now they're selling for like 100 quid, but I only bought like 3. All the dwarves I bought, like all the blisters that were like £2.50 for a blister. Like, how could you not buy them? Anyway, this I guess isn't necessarily too interesting. But there were a lot of things that didn't make sense. I wasn't sure what the boxes were. So anyway, we spent about the next 2 months going over and over and back and forward to try and and work out what basically actually makes sense. And then here we are to the photos. So I suppose I could show the list of what I actually bought, but you'll see it mostly in the photos. Yeah. So the shipments.
So this is the delivery arriving outside your flat.
76, the old flat, the memories. There were 6 deliveries, 6 boxes that were delivered. That's not meant to, you shouldn't see that one. Sorry, it's embarrassing, isn't it? 6 boxes delivered on different days, and the bloke just left them outside my house, which scared the crap out of me. Sorry,
6 boxes or 6 shipments? Because
6 individual boxes. Yeah.
Right, okay.
But under one shipment, FedEx shipped it.
Okay.
Border control went through them all to make sure they were legit. And here's pretty much where
they looked at the invoices and thought, this has to be suspect. There's no way anybody's bought 6 boxes of Warhammer.
And I suppose I could scroll through them faster, but maybe we just sit back and enjoy the slideshow, Lionel. Not bad photos like that. Anyway. Oh, it's a good photo. So you can see I bought...
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So this... Do you still... I still remember that image, that Chaos Space Marine is so iconic. Do you still have this stuff in a sealed state?
Well, I wouldn't open them, would I, Lionel?
Right.
But yeah, So
you have them still?
I have some of them. I sold part of the collection on eBay for 45 grand, didn't I? And
wow. That's a bit of a return off your
Well, no,
6K investment.
that was part of. That wasn't just these. That was like, as I said, we'll do another cast if people want to see it. Because there's multiple. I set up a website basically, which is called OOP Miniatures, which invites people to sell me their stuff, and
put a link in the description below, Jamie.
Well, there's nothing on it anymore other than please contact me to buy your stuff. So I had a few people like contact me, and I met up with one guy in Liverpool, and he had his collection. Oh, there's a cat legs there. Oh right, this is me measuring how expensive they were. So there's been loads of opportunities. I've never spent this much in one purchase.
Oh wow! Is that what the original Orion looked like?
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? They're really interesting.
I've got to say, although some of the stuff I look and it takes me back nostalgically, I'm not a fan of Old Hammer. I can't stand it now.
Jesus, Lionel, get out. Some of them are bad, absolutely. Some of them are just amazing. Like even now, I can look at like Jess Goodwin's sculpts and just be like, "How did you get it so right so long ago? Like 30 years ago?" And you're just like, so this is basically the dream, where I have multiple of the same in pristine condition.
Right. Okay.
I don't have it's not like a life regret, but I really wish I had sunk like 10k in or something, and just
you wish you had.
Yeah, I wish I had bought more. Absolutely.
Well, clearly, if you made 4 times the amount of money back.
Well, as I said, like
I know I actually had other bits in, but you still had a healthy return.
I actually think I probably broke even. I don't think there was necessarily a large amount of profit from that sale. Like,
how did you manage that?
It's just like, I mean, I'd sold off individual bits on eBay for a while, and then I did this one big lot because I just needed it gone.
I'm guessing you were left with a lot of copies of that Orion model because it's god awful.
It's a collector's, mate. I love the colours they use in the boxes. I will actually stop the slide, so we'll just go through this quicker because.
Have you still got Gorka Morka then? Or have you sold that?
Still got Gorka. I kept all the stuff that meant a lot, but I have 3 copies, so I was in a position to let some go. We can do a cast on that large lot that went, because I've got the photos if anybody is interested. So I guess we can go through quicker, right? Like that photo must bring some emotions.
Yeah, it's definitely nostalgic. I can remember that walking around the GW and seeing that stuff when I was doing it. Do I want even one copy of that now? No.
So you wouldn't pay, for example, 49 quid, which is the going rate on eBay for one of these boxes now?
No, I wouldn't even pay. I wouldn't even pay what it was going for retail back then. Now, even if it was
£5, was it? I think they were £5 back then.
Yeah, £5. I wouldn't spend.
£5 box was a £5, wasn't it?
No, because I wouldn't even take this elephant off because yes, they were nostalgic and yes, they were good at their time, but not now.
Right, so
the only exception being is Hero Quest and possibly Space Crusade.
I do have Space Crusade. Right, so here's the second box. This is basically Gorka Morka and Battle Sisters, as I said. There you go. So how many did I get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
God, that's
7.
Awful. Such an awful. Look at the box design.
Box designs are beautiful.
No, not the box design. I'm talking the actual vehicle, which looks like a box.
Right, it's just a rhino with a woman stuck on top, isn't it?
It's not though. It's the old version of the rhino. It looks awful.
Yeah, that's the rhino. That's the only rhino I believe in. Everything after this edition just it's spit on it. Right.
Oh, it looks awful, Jamie.
This is the third box. Spitting on my dreams here, Lionel. So it's interesting. You think that Games Workshop has improved?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, who wouldn't?
If you take off your nostalgic specs, because I know for you what you're doing here is exactly the same as I do with comic books. I'll pick up a comic book that I read when I was young, and it immediately takes me back. is the artwork as good as some of the artwork that Jason Fabro or people are producing now? No, of course not. And I think that's the same here. You're obviously looking through it with nostalgic respect. You can't tear around honestly and say
I don't know. Come on.
that what they're releasing now isn't better than that. Look, there are independent companies now releasing better sculpts than than
so
what's there.
If you ask me,
everything's improved.
Is Games Workshop releasing better models? I would honestly say no. Like, I don't like. I've told you this many times.
Yeah, and we disagree on it. Violently disagree on it.
Games Workshop, in my opinion, can't release. They just can't do anything right at the moment for me. And their sales prove that they're doing everything right. Do you get what I mean? Their sales.
Course, yeah.
So I know I'm in a minority and it's subjective, but I would always rather paint.
Go far as say you're the only person.
There was. You're the only. No, obviously I know, because otherwise I would be into this. It's just the new models. They just drive me nuts. Anyway, you're talking to a hardened fan of. Look, I just took photos of boxes.
Go back. Get that there.
That's better than the current stuff.
You see a beautiful piece of history. You know what I see?
Beautiful model. Better than anything out now.
I see a metal model that as soon as you try to glue those metal wings on, they're going to fall off every 5 minutes because they weren't designed with gravity in mind. That's what that reminds.
They were designed with magic.
Yeah, and then having trying to pin those
Dremels didn't exist back then either, did they?
No, exactly. So you're there trying to pin it. So I just see a model that every time you turn up for a game, it's going to arrive in 5 parts, and you can't use it. That's what I.
Oh yeah, you shouldn't play with these things. You should only display them.
Yeah, they were never designed for gaming, Jamie.
And that's why I leave them sealed.
Which is a testament to how bad the models were, because the only good way is to have them sealed. That takes me back. Are they Skaven? No, they're dwarves.
No, all dwarves. Yeah.
That doesn't take me back anywhere. Then I thought they were Skaven.
There's a lot of Skaven. What about these old school dice?
You even invested in the dice?
Have to, mate. They were like £2.
Yeah, but look how awful they are, Jamie. They do better dice than that now.
These are the most colourful, awesome dice ever. It's the old when you had D. Look at that D11. It's crazy. Anyway, we're pretty much done here. Other than maybe somebody complaining that they want to see it all. This was annoying. All the sisters had this green goo growing on them.
Oh yeah.
Very odd.
Okay. So do you think they're better than the new sister plastic kits that they've released?
Yeah, I do actually. And it's the features that I can't handle. It's the rounded lack of soul, like the.
See, I don't. You've discussed this with me before, because I know. Look, I'm not as au fait with models. Well, not model design and sculpting. So in that sense, I can forgive more and accept more. And I know you draw a distinction between a green sculpt and a digital sculpt and whatnot. But I don't see what you're seeing when you see the sisters release and say no, they're all bad models.
So, I just didn't see any of them that made. The 3D thing, the 3D sculpt, that
he does take me back.
Right, yeah, he's quite cool.
Yeah,
I can't really put my finger on it, other than there's a bad 3D sculpt is a bad 3D sculpt, as the same way a traditional would be, right? So you have a very good 3D sculptor, and you can clearly see that like proportions are right, and there's details, and it objectively looks nice, but there's just something missing on it where it's either the textures or I can't ever put my finger on it, but there's a feeling that I get when I look at a traditional sculpt versus a 3D sculpt, and the 3D sculpt just does nothing for me,
because it
doesn't incite me. Yeah,
I think what sums up our differences entirely is you still prefer the second edition metal avatar, the squat thing, over what I think is a really nice model, the current Forge World resin one. Now, I don't see, unless you're poking fun at me, I don't see how you can genuinely like other than nostalgia. I don't see how you can genuinely like that squat avatar made of metal over the current sculpt. I just think I just don't understand what you're seeing.
It's a good example because yes, it's exactly like the Hero Quest. That gargoyle, the old one. It's like a very old static model, but somehow it still has appeal. Maybe I've seen some. Yeah, the gargoyle. I don't really like the old one, to be honest with you, but the avatar. Yeah, he's got a crap. He's just basically doing this, like with his sword. That's what the old avatar is.
Yeah.
And every single time I've ever painted it, I've converted it a fairly large amount. But I still prefer it to the Forge World one. I understand the Forge World one. It's bigger. It's better. I don't know.
Its proportions make more sense as well.
Yeah. I would have liked. Yeah, it's a good. I think maybe the Avatar, the smaller one, just is easier to paint and it's less kind of twatty and wishy-washy. I don't know. So that's not a real reason, is it?
No.
Yeah, it's the nostalgia.
It's got to be the nostalgia.
Because when I saw the Avatar, I did like it, but then I saw it too many times and I got bored of it.
Because once again, looking at what you've got there, trying to make one of those metal men sit on that plastic horse and glue it in place back in the day was very hard as well.
Lots of glue. Lots of glue. Job done. So I bought a lot from him, basically. I bought as many blisters as I could that weren't because some of the prices just didn't make sense. Like, there'd be a box that you could buy brand new now, the older Viper, for 12 quid, and he was selling it for 22 quid.
Right, okay.
So it was like, we spoke about it a long time, but because Daniel was just the middleman, he basically couldn't really have any input on the prices. So yeah, that kind of concludes it, really. I think that.
So what percentage of this purchase do you think you've retained now, and what are your intentions with regard to what you retained?
Absolutely keep it. Percentage wise,
you'll never open and paint.
Well, no. I've got so much to paint already that's open.
I bet Albert Font is eyeing up this collection quite, because this is his wheelhouse, isn't it?
Well, he's been in the loft, hasn't he? I still need to record and release that. He took home a bag from '94 that I had.
Really?
He filled up the whole bag with models. So I still need to charge him. He loves dwarves and he loves. I really should throw together that video. And release it, because it is just him going through the collection and the camera records it. And obviously that's more stuff than here. This is what you're seeing now is only two of the
tip of the iceberg.
Well, if you give me a sec, hold on. Okay, here we go.
This was the entire collection, then, was it?
Well, actually, there's a few boxes around here, but yeah, this is probably like what 40% of the collection.
40, less than half.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, I weighed it, and it was a ton, wasn't it? Altogether.
So where was it all being stored then? In your
my mum's loft. It still is in my mum's loft. So this is the.
You shouldn't have said that for safety reasons.
She's have to find out where she lives.
She's gonna have to upgrade her security system now.
Insurance. Yeah, that's the scales that did it. I weighed every single box.
Right, so all that is what you sold, and you made your
basically
£45,000.
Pretty much.
And then you still have 60% somewhere.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah. I mean, I've got like 10 of these boxes of blisters. Basically, I have 55 litres. I have 55 84 litres really useful boxes in the loft full of the Warhammer.
Right.
So it's I don't know what that means, but there's a lot of boxes left. So yeah, there was a lot of selling going on, and a lot of craziness. So yeah, this is what we can go through in the next. We can go through the Lost in another episode if people are so inclined. Yeah. Right. Let's go back to the old no more spoilers. Yeah. I do love it. Absolutely love it. Warhammer, old school.
Well, clearly, I mean, I do understand the pull off having a sealed box, you know, and one, but it's the multiple boxes I don't understand because unless, of course, you turn around and say, no, look, hand on heart, it's an investment. I reckon I'll sell 4 of them in 5 years' time, but that generally isn't the case with you, is it?
There's no point in having them if it's just an investment. There are better things to invest in than Warhammer.
I suppose so.
It's basically the base.
Yeah, you put it that way.
And especially because it's so hit and miss, you know. One up. If you had Hero Quest, 300, 400 quid. If you had been unlucky and bought second edition box set, same price when they came out, it's worth 100 quid. Except for that one guy.
See, I'm one of those people who every time a new edition comes out, for me, what you've got devalues further.
Yeah.
In terms,
it does. As soon as you buy it, you lose a load of cash.
Yeah, but no, what I'm saying is in reality, every edition of 40k that comes out, all that old stuff you've got actually goes up in value, doesn't it? Because it becomes more sought after. Whereas with me, it devalues because for me, the quality of the sculpts move on so much.
Oh, I see.
The product quality moves on so much. There is never going to be a point where I want to own that second edition. I'll look at it and go, oh, that takes me back, Jamie. I remember this and I remember seeing it. But even if you said to me, Lionel, I'll give it to you for 1990 prices, 30 quid, I'd be like, no. No, I'll say about £30 and spend it on something.
Anything.
Primaris.
Food. Oh, okay. Oh, that's crazy.
I don't do much GW at the minute, but I'd spend it on comic books, Jamie, probably.
I mean, that's a waste of money, isn't it? No one likes comic books. Yeah, exactly.
No one's ever made money off a comic book.
I think comics are probably a better way to invest, if I'm honest. I think Dogs of War, that's where you should put your money in. But the trouble is you've missed the boat now unless the prices keep going up. But interestingly, the prices have stayed fairly consistent now for like 3 or 4 years. Right. And obviously inflation is making them cheaper. But yeah, like a Dogs of War box set, you're looking at like the giants. Do you remember the 2 giants of Dogs of War and the magician?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Like, yeah, they'll sell for like 120 quid. If you had bought them 5 years ago.
Well, like you said, it depends on how much demand there is. Hero Quest is going for 150 to 200 pounds before this new re-release came out. There are obviously collectors. Well, there's people like you out there, Jamie, isn't there? So,
well, interestingly, Lionel, it's I think by pumping in the amount of money I did, I genuinely think it affected the costs of things. Like, I think that because there wasn't that big a demand before, and now I know at least 3 people who in the last like 2 years have put a lot of money into it as well. And then we found out that we were bidding against each other. So I was just like, I'm not going to bid anymore because we're both just egging each other on. So there aren't that many collectors who are having a big impact. So
basically, you're the equivalent of Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Between the two of you, you control the market.
Well,
because I know you've tried to buy all the Forge World, which will probably be another cast, but you tried to buy all the Forge World sculpts, haven't you? Which I don't understand. So you could own all the ones in the world.
Yep. For about 3 years, I bought every single one that was on eBay. Didn't matter what it was. But again, that was that. Well, the prices generally weren't that high back then. But yeah, there were a couple I did spend a lot on. But that was the addiction, the addictive part of me that was kicking in, and like all of these purchases, like. I absolutely, as I said, I love them, and I don't need them, and that has to be the ADD and the addiction coming in, because it's not reasonable. I don't need that many models, you know, like, sure, I've been a bit lucky that when I started buying them, not many people were buying them, so I could buy them cheaper. But there was still like too much. So I think, I do think people, like, we have this kind of tendency in the miniature world to buy a lot more than we need. I think you're a lot better than most. You seem to buy what you paint, right?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been there in the past where I've had piles, but piles of not a medical condition. I mean... piles of amazing. But like I said, now that I'm trying to take painting a bit more seriously, it makes no sense, and it became a point where it was a barrier. But also, it's a barrier to me painting because there was so much indecision, because there was so much I could pick from. I didn't. But yeah, I think a lot of hobbyists who are watching this will be able to relate to what you're saying, but I don't think people will appreciate how extreme your version of that was.
Yeah, well, we can do that on another cast. I think go through all the eBay purchases and the bundles and that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think what's interesting is in the community, it's quite banterous to be like, share your pile of shame, you know. And for the longest time, you could shut everyone up because your pile of shame is literally a room. And and it's like, so, and that definitely egged me on. Like, that was the thing that was like wasn't the main driver. The main driver was I want sealed things, but it was like a thing that I'm like, that's cool, I can do that. And I think without Facebook, I don't think I ever would have bought as much Warhammer. I'd have a lot more money.
I've got to say as well, your wife is an angel as well to have
for not kicking off.
To allow it to have got that far.
Yeah, well, there are ways to not let everyone know. I think, like, it got to the point.
Not when you're dealing with those quantities. When you walk in and it fills the room. Even from a space perspective, let alone the price, where you turn and say, I can't see the back of our room anymore. What are you doing with all these boxes?
Yeah, the room I lived in 76 was shelves just literally all across the room, and they were packed like from front to back. What they got so heavy.
Oh, dragons with metal wings that would never fit.
I literally had to fit clamps on the shelves to stop them because they started bowing.
But that, at that point, that's life saying to you, when your shelves are bowing and you have to reinforce them, that's life saying to you, you know what, Jamie?
You've probably gone too far. Yeah, I think we could keep, but now we're actually just having a chat about everything that we do. Look, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it, but it was 46 minutes. It was meant to be like a 15-minute quick thing on it. Yeah. So,
okay.
Lionel,
right, let's sign off there then. If your partner's got a collection problem and then you've seen this video and it's made you feel a lot better about your partner, do us a favour and comment below, like and subscribe. At least do that for Jamie, and we'll bring you a part 2 about the rest of his collection.
Be a good one.
See you at the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.